afternoon, and thank you for joining us. My name is Trisha Eller with Advanced RV, and I'm here this afternoon with Lauren and Tim Playl, and we're going to talk a little bit about their rental experience with us. And before we do that, we're going to talk a little bit about why they decided to go the rental route with Advanced RV.
Well, actually, we have never owned an RV before. Actually, had never been on an RV before. And so the question was, did we want to try the RV route? And the best way to try it would be to actually rent one. And we looked around at various brands, and you folks had a rental program and we liked what we saw on your website, and so we decided to rent one and try and see if we liked it, if we could even get along in this small space. Itty bitty living space.
Oh, good. So, and then beyond that, let's talk a little bit about how your rental experiences went with both Hans and with Candy.
Well, both vans were totally different in terms of their arrangements, and we found it extremely exciting because it gave us a chance to try multiple different options that we otherwise would have just been trying to imagine what they would have been like. It was also fun because they have very different personalities for the different vehicles. And so camping for a few days on one and camping a few days on the other was really fun.
It was. And actually, we hadn't planned to actually rent two different ones, but after renting the first one, we started thinking, well, maybe we'll buy. We don't know if we're going to buy. We don't know if we're going to continue to rent. And so we thought, let's try the other one too and see what the different options are.
Perfect. And talk a little bit about how it was your first time. You know, you're used to living in a home, and now you're living in an RV for a certain amount of time. How was that experience?
Well, it was really kind of humorous because it rained the whole time, both times. So for what we were actually looking for to find out if it was something we would enjoy, getting stuck in the vehicle the whole time was actually delightful because we felt rested, relaxed. It was wonderful. And that shocked us tremendously because in the rain we didn't expect it.
Yeah, it was a great experience. You know, we pulled into our slot, you know, into the campsite. Didn't have to do anything. We didn't even hook up the power the first time around. We were on it for 2.5 days, didn't hook up the power. Just kind of, we went off to eat. We went off to go get something to eat, came back, did the same thing. It was great. Had a great time.
And there were a number of things that we never had thought about. We've always thought if you go camping, you go camping. And so when we took Candy for the first rental, we had been planning to eat in Candy, and we'd been doing a lot of things that day that we left. So when we got to the campground, I was like, oh, do you want to just go out to eat? Well, we had pulled into the campsite, and we'd never been in a Class B camper before, but essentially it was like, let's go out to eat. Okay, we hadn't even plugged in, so we just got in the front seat, turned the key, went out to eat, came backed into the campsite, and again, it was very different from what we thought it was going to be.
Like parking a very large car.
Right.
Yes.
And that was going to be my next question. Compare it to a little bit about how it would be driving a big, you know, motorhome like that as opposed to your own car. You said you have a Jetta.
Right.
What was the learning, you know, part of that, the training part of driving it?
I think the hardest part, which it was actually really easy, the hardest part is remembering that there's a lot behind you, so you can't make quite as tight of a turn as you normally would in a car, but other than that, very much like driving a car. We're used to small cars, but yeah, it's a little wider and it's quite a bit longer, but very simple. Renting also gave us an opportunity to go beyond the simple little test drive that you do when you're buying any vehicle. And so we tried the radio, we tried the GPS, we tried the cruise control. It all worked great.
It was interesting because when we were first debating it, again, that's kind of the I've never driven anything that large, or so we thought. But I had looked it up and trying to compare it to a van, and I think it was the Dodge Grand Caravan is actually just, if I remember, it's a fraction of an inch bigger in width than the RV. So think of it just driving a very long Dodge Caravan.
Yeah, and we'd driven a minivan before, so that was like, oh, okay, I can do this.
Mhm.
Right.
So, yeah, it was really simple. It's great.
Great. And where did you travel to?
Oh, we didn't go far. We just went down to one of the local state parks, so
Nice.
I think, 35, 40 miles.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't go far, but enough that it gave us a chance to try it out.
Great. And what would you say would be like the biggest thing you learned about driving a motorhome, or the whole experience in all? What was the biggest thing you learned?
Well, we had gone into this with wondering if we were going to be enjoying it. And now we're buying one, so
Yeah.
yes.
And there we go.
So we learned a lot.
And we also learned which type of bed arrangement. You know, when we started thinking about buying, then it was, do we want twin beds or sofa bed? And we initially started thinking sofa bed, then we went back to the twin bed, then we went back to the sofa bed. By the time we were done renting, we knew.
Right.
Again, first time RVers, we didn't know how the systems worked.
Mhm.
So how easy is it to pump out and clean out the tanks? And it was very easy, and everything is so nicely arranged on these things.
Mhm.
It's wonderful. It makes it so easy.
Right.
And we learned a lot of detailed things that we're using the information as we're choosing the components of the van we're buying. So for example, even down to the batteries. I'd always thought that if you go camping, you better be able to plug in or you're not going to make it overnight. And with Candy, we never plugged in for the entire first trip that we took. And then with Hans, we noticed it had a totally different battery system. And by having the ability to compare the two, it made the decision very easy for us. But going into the decision, we weren't sure what we wanted.
Great.
So there were a lot of little decisions that we
Right.
were able to make
Right.
because we were actually experiencing it and
Right.
renting it.
Right.
So it made it very easy.
Great. And one piece of advice that you would give to any of our viewers when it comes to making that decision to, rent and experience and before, purchase?
It's a definitely, you should do it. There's no question about that. We would have made a number of errors in what we chose had we not done it.
We would have liked the van regardless, but I think it's going to suit our needs a whole lot better because we did rent.
Right.
And also should be mentioned that part of the rental can go towards the purchase price of a van. So
Exactly.
it's worth doing
Yeah.
and trying it out, and you don't make a very expensive mistake.
Right. Absolutely.
Because it is an investment.
Right.
There's a ton of information that I wouldn't have thought that you might want to know when you're taking a recreational vehicle out.
Right.
And we got through the entire first rental, and I remembered everything pretty much Chris had told us, and we knew how to pump out, and we knew how to fill it with water, and we tried everything. I mean, we tried every subsystem that was in that vehicle.
Because we didn't have anything else to do. We were in the
Right.
rain.
And we wanted to know how it worked, and we tried all the lighting arrangements and everything. And we got to the very end, and one of the things that is requested is that you fill it up. You put the diesel fuel back in before you bring it back. Where
the
is
tank?
the diesel tank back? And I was like, I know he told us, but I can't find it. It's hidden behind a door.
You folks make a really good stealth vehicle because you
Yes.
can't find the gas tank.
So we actually had to end up looking it up in the actual Mercedes-Benz manual, and we found it. It's a little door behind the driver's seat. But I was like, I wouldn't have thought to look there. But yes, he did tell us that.
Yeah.
But so yes, the checkout was beautiful. The rental people were beautiful. It just worked well.
It worked really well.
Thank you very much, Tim and Lauren, for being with us today, and thank you for being part of the Advanced RV experience, and thank you for joining us. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.